right. Hello, everybody. This is Dr. D here again. This summer, in addition to the podcast that we are going to be dropping on a regular basis, we've also decided to add a little feature to the website and to the knowledge distribution called Deeper Dives with Dr. D. And here's the first one of those. It's being recorded on June the 6th, 2025, which is, of course, the anniversary of the Normandy invasion in June the 6th, 1944. And it's an interesting topic to be talking about today because World War II, as many other wars since, winning and losing often depended upon what we would call obtaining energy security. And secondarily, the end of the Second World War ushered into this era of what we call superpowers. We had the creation of the superpower status of both the United States and the Soviet Union at the time that fundamentally reshaped geopolitics for the ensuing 80 years, and in some ways still kind of does. Now, that's interesting because the topic of today's deeper dive is a topic or a phrasing that I've heard two Canadian prime ministers say during their tenure, one conservative and one liberal. And that phrase is called energy superpower and the need for Canada to become one, or at least the potential for Canada to become one. And I thought about that a lot because I'm not quite sure people fully understand what that can actually mean. So what I thought I'd do is I'd spend about 8 to 10 minutes trying to maybe give some context to that term and help you think through it when you hear it in the newspapers and in other sorts of places. So that's what we're going to do for the next few minutes is talk about that. Now, what does that mean to be an energy superpower or to be a superpower in the first place? Now, that's a term going back to my international relations days. It means that people who possess that title have enough power to independently shape the system that they're operating in all by themselves. And not only do they have enough power to do that, they can act almost with impunity compared to the next biggest players in the system. They can do pretty much what they want, and they can not worry as much or have to worry about what other people are aligned behind them or not. Now, let's try to think that through for Canada for a second. Canada is currently the fourth biggest supplier of oil in the world, and the fifth biggest supplier of natural gas. And to become an energy superpower means we could vastly increase the totals that we produce in both of those areas, along with a more full spectrum of renewable energy resources, everything from lithium for batteries, energy and nuclear energy, other sorts of things. So that really has two characteristics that people talk about. One is volume, the amount of energy you can produce along, both traditional energy resources and in terms of the full spectrum of energy resources. So when you're thinking about energy resources, or energy superpower, you're really talking about volume, the amount of energy Canada is capable of produce. And you're also talking about the wider spectrum, about all the things that compose the global energy mix, both carbon and non-carbon. So when you're thinking about energy superpower, I do think, at least today, that's what Mr. Carney probably means. Is yes, he wants to see and is working towards, at least he says he's working towards, greater export and production capacity in traditional energy sources like oil and natural gas. But it also means being able to influence the energy market in renewable sources or alternative sources and the types of inputs that are needed to produce those. Now, is it realistic for Canada to possess the volume that might make it a superpower? Well, that's a bit of a stretch. We produce about 4 million barrels of oil today. The really big oil producers are Russia, United States, and Saudi Arabia, each of which can produce 12 to 14. So to triple our oil output is going to take some doing to be on a par with them. But that doesn't mean being nearly par is not worth doing or doesn't have any influence over the oil system at all. So what would increasing Canada's overall energy output across that spectrum mean in terms of the superpower status? Well, one element, of course, is going to be economically beneficial. We are going to create more jobs in energy. We are going to have more energy output. That's more taxes. That's more revenue. That's more opportunity. So the boost to the Canadian economy that would be enjoyed by increasing energy overall output is great. Now, I assume or guess that most people, when they hear the term energy superpower, they're just talking about that is let's produce more, get more economic revenue, and that'll be great. And that's sort of the end of the story. But it's actually not. Being a superpower means you're able to use that power that you have for economic output, but for other reasons as well. And this is where it gets into the politics and geopolitics of energy. It is being a superpower means you can shape the overall energy system in a way that is conducive to your interests and conducive to your values. That it means that you can, for example, in addition to the economic benefits, you can forge greater alliances or greater reliability of alliances with those particular countries that need your energy. A big debate in Canada happened a couple of years ago when Japan and Germany asked for Canadian natural gas energy, and the response from the federal government was not positive at the time. I would imagine if they asked for Canadian energy today, they might get a very different response, because not only are we getting the economic benefit from increased energy output, we are also helping our allies. All right, which means that we are fulfilling the obligations that we have under our alliance treatments, and we're generally supporting countries that share the types of values, democracy, free market capitalism, human rights, that Canadians care about. It also means that Canadians, if we have enough energy superpower status, can influence how other countries develop their energy resources, which they're going to do. They need energy as much as we do, but if you're able to develop technologies, skills, capacities domestically, ranging from how you increase energy output with less carbon emissions to carbon capture and storage techniques to more efficient battery usage, you can export those. You can share that knowledge and gain an economic benefit from it by trying to shape how others shape their energy developments, which is the classic argument of Canadian energy exports, particularly of natural gas, is it displaces coal in rapidly emerging markets, and you're able to use Canadian technologies to increase their energy outputs as well. So there's kind of the multiplier effect you get from influencing what other people do. And the final one I would talk about is energy is a very values-laden subject. It's a commodity, but it's more than that. It also strikes to the very heart of what people think the future global economy is going to look like. Excessive energy revenues deployed poorly or deployed in ways that Canadians would not generally agree with has contributed to conflict, has contributed to war. And if we are able to influence the system of energy development to lower geopolitical risks surrounding it, increase technology that can lower the environmental impact of it, perhaps even work towards more stringent or transparent mechanisms to try to understand where energy revenue goes, it makes a more safer world. It makes energy less of a geopolitical commodity and more that gets people to relax about it, and they can be assured they're going to have enough energy, which allows them to be less aggressive about it. So this term energy superpower, when you think about it, means increased output, yes. But it also means the ability to use that output in a way that makes Canada a more important player and is able to shape an overall system from which we have an inherent interest and inherent capacity to make a difference in. Anyway, there's your first deep dive into the term energy superpower from Dr. D. Hope you enjoyed it.